In the dead of winter in 1893, travelers actively avoided a stretch of the Black Forest known as the Widow's Path. Temperatures dropped fast enough to freeze a man in his tracks, and the complete isolation meant a stalled horse cart meant death. Thomas Vale, a 27-year-old schoolteacher who had lost his family and savings in Berlin, was traveling this route out of sheer desperation for work. When a sudden whiteout trapped his carriage at nightfall, a dim golden lantern appeared through the trees, attached to a crooked wooden building emitting a weak trail of smoke. But the carriage driver stopped dead in the road. He refused to step foot on the property, electing to take his chances in the forest until sunrise. Before turning his horse away, he abandoned Thomas with one terrified warning: whatever happens, never take room 7. The inn functions as a physical snare, relying on the Black Forest's brutal conditions. When blizzards bring freezing temperatures, the building's warm glow becomes the only alternative to the storm, forcing travelers to walk willingly into the trap. Stepping inside, the warmth hits instantly, but the interior is unnaturally still. Behind the front desk stands the innkeeper, a tall man in a black coat, watching with tired eyes and a calm smile that never shifts. 4 other guests occupy the lobby, all locked in bizarre, trance-like loops. An elderly priest mutters silent prayers. A young woman stares blankly into the fire. The most unnerving is a thin businessman frantically scribbling the exact same phrase over and over across his notebook: "Don't open the window." The innkeeper slowly opens his ledger and assigns Thomas the only space remaining, room 7. Instantly, the dead silence in the lobby shatters. The young woman whispers for him not to sleep there, while an old soldier waking from a nap warns of things pretending to be people. The environment builds a sense of inescapable dread. By placing a new arrival among victims who are already broken, the inn ensures that even before the sun sets, a guest is already looking over their shoulder, waiting for the shadows to move. At midnight, the fire burns low. From the ceiling above, heavy footsteps begin pacing slowly back and forth, followed by the quiet, distinct sound of a woman crying. These sounds are coming directly from room 7, the room the innkeeper swore was empty. The building operates by scanning its occupants for personal grief. It targets travelers by projecting the voices of their dying or lost loved ones, creating a psychological magnetic pull that funnels the victim directly toward the center of room 7. Downstairs, the front door groans open. Roughly 10 figures step inside, their faces hidden beneath heavy coats. They stand completely stationary as stinking, rotten water pools around their boots, the previous victims of the inn, returning to the site of their disappearance. The psychological pressure eventually shatters the survivors. 3 slow knocks hit the front door, followed by the soft voice of a little girl calling for her papa. The old soldier, tears streaming down his face, breaks away from the priest, rips the door open, and is instantly swallowed by a tall, impossible shape hiding in the darkness. The entity avoids using brute force. Instead, it engineers specific emotional scenarios designed to trick victims into surrendering their own lives to their deepest regrets. By 3 a.m., the businessman has vanished, leaving only his open notebook behind. The young woman finally confesses her reason for being there. Her husband disappeared into room 7 3 winters ago, and she returns every year in a desperate attempt to find him. The priest then reveals the property's history. Centuries earlier, an old monastery burned to the ground on this exact spot. A family died trapped inside an upper room, and the entity currently hunting them was born from that panic and death. Upstairs, the door to room 7 sits wide open, spilling warm golden light into the hall. Thomas approaches the doorway. Inside is an impossibly real version of his dying mother, weeping in a chair and begging him to sit with her while she passes. The voice is perfect, but the hallway mirror reveals the physical reality. The reflection shows an empty wooden chair, Crouched directly on the ceiling above it is a dark predator with elongated limbs, watching Thomas with an impossibly wide smile. Room 7 is a lure. It presents the heartbreaking illusion of a lost loved one to mask a starving, monstrous entity waiting just out of sight. The trap springs. The innkeeper blocks the staircase, his skin cracking and peeling as he declares that nobody leaves before sunrise. The building begins to shift. The windows freeze shut over the locks, and the second-floor hallway warps, unnaturally stretching backward into an endless dark corridor that defies the physical dimensions of the house. Every guest room door bursts open at once. An endless void of darkness pours out into the hall, carrying a deafening chorus of voices, mothers, fathers, and husbands, all calling out the names of the survivors. The recently taken victims emerge from the room. The old soldier and the businessman are there, their faces pale and their eyes entirely wrong, smiling as they urge Thomas and the woman to stay until morning. The inn turns into an inescapable labyrinth. Between the stretching architecture and the cacophony of familiar voices, the building ensures that no matter where a survivor turns, they are confronted by the very things they are trying to outrun. While the priest blocks the smiling figures, Thomas and the young woman sprint through the rear hallway. They reach the stables and force a horse carriage out into the screaming blizzard, fleeing toward the forest. They gallop blindly through the snow. The exact second their carriage breaches the edge of the tree line, the warm, glowing lamplight behind them vanishes. When sunrise breaks, Thomas looks back expecting ruins or a road. Instead, there's only an untouched snowfield. No building, foundation, or footprints. The Hollow Lantern Inn has no fixed location. It is a roaming, phantom predator that stalks the Black Forest, waiting for the next blizzard to light a single lantern and wait for its next guest.